Hey guys, welcome back to a great episode here. Another live stream. Here we have Damon Gray, who I've worked with before. Does a lot of work in sales and a lot of fields that I have as well. Personality type theories. In this video, we're going to talk and dive more into socionics in terms of how it applies to productivity. So thank you, Damon, for coming
You're
on.
welcome.
Always a pleasure. And so I kind of want to start off this video with a great question, and that is, how does socionics apply to productivity, and what are some practical ways that everyday Joes can apply socionics to themselves, which will translate to their productivity?
So the reality is that everyday folks aren't probably going to be studying socionics. Um,
Rhetorical question.
that's the truth, right? That's where you're going to see a lot of people who they want to study socionics because, or rather, they should, because there's so much hidden understanding of human psychology, right? And
Right.
naturally, people are like, well, you can't really put people in categories. Well, you kind of can. And that's the thing. That's the advantage of being able to look in socionics and say, this is the box in which we operate. If one thing is true, then it's the other thing that it needs to sustain itself, right? So you have this one side of this picture, and then you have another side, and you want balance. So, unlike other personality systems, what you're going to find in socionics is a more applicable way of understanding how everything really works as far as human psychology. Is it perfect? No. And nor do I claim to myself to be a socionics expert. It's just understanding how all those things work and how it applies to things like productivity. So, to answer the first part of your question, as far as productivity is concerned, socionics allows people to find out what they're vulnerable in. And what's even crazier is that the people watching this video are going to be a particular sociotype, because there's types who don't give a single shit about productivity.
Okay.
And so the audience on this particular video will more than likely be people who are focused on being productive or feel that they need to be productive.
Right.
So that's called a super ego thing, is like, this is what society expects from me, but I don't really
No.
need it.
How?
Yeah. So when we talk about the superego in certain psychology systems, not necessarily personality type in itself, but in general, we talk about
Yeah.
what is expected of us in society, who we need to be when we're out there doing our thing. And it's interesting because, quick backstory for me was, as a kid, my superego was everything I'm not. My entire family was the complete opposite in functions as me. And as a result, they were super egoing me. So I came off as a very strange child because I was being told to be a certain way that did not feel natural. And so I started rebelling really early on because it was just wasn't natural. Of course, there was no explanation for it. Chad's crazy. And I remember when I was a kid and I told my mom this one thing. And I said, when I'm 5 years old, I was 5 years old at the time, and I was laying on the couch and I said, Mom, when I turn 6, I'm going to be one bad boy. And she goes, okay, like rolls her eyes. And I remember this. And she was like, she was clueless. And I just knew that I was going to rebel. This is bullshit. And I knew it. So being able to put a system to it and really start understanding why you're doing those things is huge. So when it comes to productivity, certain types value productivity more than other types. And that's what we call valued functions versus unvalued functions. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, makes sense, and it will probably make sense to everybody watching the video as they watch, right? So, I wanted to kind of touch base on kind of my philosophy with something I've noticed, and in a workplace environment. Maybe you can kind of shed light in how socionics can be applicable to the everyday person, or the people that actually do, they have interest because they value it, right? And so imagine you're in a sales meeting and you're a manager and you're frustrated with the fact that you have a staff, or it could be any department. You have a staff that's, they're not getting what they need to do, right? It could be that they're untrained. It could be that they have a sense of what they need to do, but they're not sure how to get to the results that they want, or what's expected of them. And so, you can say, hey, make phone calls or do this or do that, but without knowing the micro, or without having the motivation to understand the micro, without having the guidance, right? How does one particularly move forward themselves, right, efficiently, and with just themselves, right? Let's just say that they only have themselves because they're the only leadership they have, because they have that awareness, right? What can one person do to be productive, to move forward with whatever they need to do, right? And understand what they need if nobody else around them can give them that answer.
So make sure I understand your question. What you're asking is if someone, how do they know that what they need to do and what is it they need to stop doing in order to be productive in their environment,
Correct.
right?
Because it's super easy for somebody to tell you at work, right? Hey, do this. And you're like, well, I don't know how to get to B from A, right?
Mm,
So figuring out the A to B.
right. So here's a demonstration of socionics, and then I'm going to answer that. So as
Sure.
your speculated type is EIE. Okay. So EIE has a suggestive, which means they expect it to be provided to them. That's what's called the suggestive function. It's the fifth function. And for EIE, it's TI. And you literally posed your question as, so how do you give me a system? How do I get from point A to point B? Right? I don't think I've ever even asked that in my life. And it's not because I don't know how to do it. It's like, I'm going to figure it out. Whereas you're asking that question because you personally need that provided to you, how to get from A to B. What's the system that it's going to take to get me there? And that's a good demonstration of someone who has suggestive TI, which is what is it going to take to get me to go from point A to point B? Now, to respond to the other side of that is what does it take for change, right? So if I want to get more productive in the workplace and I want to become productive, the things that I need to focus on are going to be, can you do this job? And is this job fitting for your non-strengths and your strengths? Because I don't like saying weaknesses. We have weaknesses, but they're weaknesses when you're in a position that actually influences you to be weak in those areas versus them just being non-talents or non-strengths. So the first question I ask is this person suited to be a salesperson, or is this person suited to be a sales manager? And that is based on a criteria of what I have learned to be effective over a period of time. Management requires an ability to manage resources. Sometimes it's human, sometimes it's resources, other resources, right? The second thing is if you're training a salesperson and we're looking at change, the only thing we can witness is behavior. After that, it goes deeper into the iceberg. Okay. What influences behavior is a set of skills. Okay. Does the person have the capability to actually do this job? Right? Can they actually do this job? And if they can do this job, then it's not a skill problem, right? So if I'm training somebody in sales and I'm saying say this on the phone and they can't say it on the phone, I'm going to ask myself, is it because they don't know how to say it, or is it because they can't say it because there's a block there, right? So if there's a block there, you gotta go one level deeper and then start looking at beliefs, because beliefs influence skills, which influence behavior. So a lot of managers are going to start attacking by trying to change behavior, but in reality, you need to starting to change a layer deeper. Skills. You can't change the skills because they already have the skills. You need to change beliefs. If you're still targeting beliefs and you're still not getting the change you're looking for, you start targeting values. What is it this person values? The biggest thing I've learned from teaching salespeople in general is that their own beliefs and their own values. I would say 99% of salespeople that I've trained come in with the belief of, I'm not a salesperson, because salespeople are sleazy, slimy, and they're terrible people, and they con people. And those beliefs manifest in how they talk on the phone. They lack assertiveness. They lack confidence. They lack the ability to push their client. They're afraid of pressure. I say pressure the hell out of your client. I say, treat that client like you're never going to talk to that client again. And if you don't do your job, some other con man is going to sell that client. So you need to sell that client and you need to apply pressure. So when I'm on the phone with a client, the client's like, oh, I feel that you're pressuring me. I'm like, no, I'm not, but I will resort to pressure if I need to. And you have to be that confident in what you're doing. And that's why I always say you want to believe in what you're selling, because if you don't believe in what you're selling, you're running into a problem. And that's where I think the biggest misconception is when it comes to that. So if identity is the bottom of the iceberg, right? Identity is the main thing. If somebody's identity is tied up into their values, tied up in their beliefs and affecting their skills, that affects their behavior. All
And
in the water of in the environment.
and so this is how, and this kind of comes full circle back to productivity, is that underlying iceberg is what you're saying.
Yeah, I call it the identity iceberg. I think you can look it up online. It's not my theory. I didn't make it up. I tend to borrow ideas and use them and understand systems so that I can become more effective in what I'm doing.
Right.
Right. So, but certainly I think that's the answer to the problem. And so if you're using socionics, you need to figure out, okay, A, is this what I need to be doing? Is this my identity? Do I really believe that this is the profession that I need? See, we're taught that we have to be part of this system. And I say that as a person who's in beta quadra in socionics, apparently. And like I said, I don't really spend a lot of time trying to type myself because I feel that beta fits me. It's a competitive environment in which I feel the need to rise to the top. I respect hierarchy as needed. I'd prefer to be on top of the hierarchy, and I'd prefer to make sure to do that because I want to influence social change. And that's the kind of the mantra of a lot of the beta quadra people is, hey, look, I need to change the community for the greater good. And it's not necessarily a fight for independence, say, that you would see in gamma quadra. You'd see more of that, like, I want to be on the top so I can have independence. It's more of a gamma quadra statement, right? So beta quadra, we're really more about being able to be on the top and establish hierarchy and push ourselves forward because we really want to be able to make that kind of social impact and influence in the way that we need to.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can say that if anybody at work will say, their sentiment about me, they'll say Dan's always pushing, right?
Yep.
And that's just it's the epitome of my character, right? Is I'm always trying to give more. I'm always trying to embody and displace great things for the environment around me. So yeah, totally agree with that there. Did you have any other, segue questions into, in terms of, actually when it comes to this micro, right? So you take somebody who is saying, okay, cool, I'm the socionics type that I am. How do I start applying this, right? With the iceberg, with everything. In terms of like, right, like as you broke it down with sales, right? In terms of a phone call, right? What can you say to the people out there who are saying, okay, cool, I can get my type and I'm reading this, but you explained it perfectly, but I'm not that type, right? How do other people identify with their own type and start applying this stuff?
We always want to look at the nature of the question in which people are asking, right? What piece of information are they really trying to get when they ask you these questions? Because if it comes to the point where you're asking a question, you're going, hey, look, I want to know my sociotype because I want to become more productive, right? You got to figure out what's hanging up your productivity. Okay. Because if you know that productivity is the ability to get things done, that is going to fall under what we call a information element in socionics, and that's going to be under what we call SE, which is extroverted sensing, your ability to move and be in constant activity and do activity without wearing yourself out, which is SI, right? There's a balance there. And so SI for some is what we call a polar, a point of least resistance, or a vulnerable function. And if you have SI in a position in which it's vulnerable, what you've really come to discover is that you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but you have no idea of when to stop because you don't quite understand how A, physical objects have a relation to each other, B, the physicality of your body and its relationship to the external environment. If you don't understand that, then you'll keep pushing, being unaware of your own needs physically. And so you can push yourself to exhaustion. So sometimes you keep trying to drive, not you personally, but a person would keep trying to drive, and they're nonstop. And you're like, oh, that guy must be an SE ego type because he is always active. No, because he is always active and then he dies because he overexerted himself. SE egos have fourth dimensional SE. And some of you watching may not actually understand this term, so I'll make it pretty simple as possible. Fourth dimensional means that you can pretty much adapt to any situation, which is actually third dimensional. It's inclusive of that. But also it means that it's outside of time and space, and you can actually think of hypothetical situations in which you can still apply that and you still know what to do in a situation that has not occurred yet. So there's a much stronger element in being able to do that. And if you have that strong of SE, naturally your SI, you're going to have a good understanding of physical relationship between objects. You may not respect it or value it, but you understand it. That makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I really like the part you said about how, you can really never tell, how why somebody's engaging, right? Because they can be fueled by different motives, right? Within socionics, right? If a type's moving and being, it's all over the place, they could just be engaging in a different way than a beta would be. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, you're gonna see the nature of your questions are very either gamma or beta.
Right.
Because you can see like the need for you to become productive. Like 10 people watch your video. Let's just say 16 to make it fair, right? 16 people watch your video. 8 of them are going to probably say, God, this is annoying. And 8 of them are going to say, well, I can relate to some of this.
Sure.
Now, out of those 8, some of them may like your style of delivery, some of them may not. But the point is that you'll have some people actually identify with what you're saying, and other people, this is completely unrelated. I'll go watch other stupid ass videos on YouTube, right?
Right.
And that is obviously because of the quadras we rest in and the things that we're looking for. So for productivity and ability to get things done, it's going to be someone who values activity.
Right. There's relevancy within the word, right? It's like this idea that, we're connected with the things that make sense most to us. So people who engage with this video and this content specifically are just naturally augmented for it, right? Just like, this isn't a makeup channel, right? So we're not attracting that kind of demographic who value the same things.
Right. So you might attract a lot of people. For example, I might not, if your video topic is productivity, I might not be your best target audience, because I'm like, dude, I'm pretty productive. I don't really need to watch videos on how to be productive. I'm a pretty productive person. I just get shit done. I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't cross my mind to like, oh my God, I have so much to do. It's more like, cool, I have a lot of things to do. Awesome. Let's get moving. Right. And I just keep going. And it doesn't wear me out. I'm not drained. I don't have my mind isn't blown that my schedule's completely filled up. I like my calendar being full, and I just go through it. And if an opportunity arises, I squeeze that one in there too. Do I always stick to my plans? Hell no. A lot of fun things come up and I'm like, I'll do that instead. Right. But I always try to keep my focus the same, which is, what am I really doing this for? And that helps me rule out a lot of extra bullshit. But if an opportunity arises, I definitely take it. But the point being is that people who seek that productivity advice are probably people who have either first dimensional or second dimensional SE, and it's valued, right? So it means that that party values it. So for example, people who have second dimensional SE, like yourself, you feel a need to continually improve your productivity so you can get better at it because you value it. Or the other side, i.e. eyes, may go, you know what? I need to be more productive. I'm in constant dreamland and I need to get off my ass and start moving. Or even LIEs or ILIs, which are MBTI equivalent to ENTJ or INTJs. They feel the same thing. Like, damn, I need to get things done. Oh man, I need to move. Oh God, I'm just in this place of dreamland, or I'm too busy visualizing and I need to get into action. Because the mobilizing function is about, hey, look, I need some help in this area. So jump in and make it happen, right? Help me get this. So for me, where I need help is FE. When I like to have a creative, fun atmosphere for a lot of people to be joking around, but it's really hard for me to do it on my own. It's like I like to host parties. And I like to host parties, but I'm like, dude, I don't know how to get these people to have fun. So I'll either make a fool of myself. I'll try to crack some jokes that are probably not appropriate. And I'll just tell a funny story. And then when people look at you like, yeah, that was not super great, but thanks. Hey, thumbs up, dude. So that's where it's like, fuck, man. Okay, what else do I do? And that's where I need a lot of help, is really being able to, take it to that next level and have some fun and create the environment of just having a good fucking time. Whereas a lot of people are just like, oh man, and they're just the life of the party. And I'm like, dude, I envy that. I envy that. So, because I value FE in socionics, right? It's important to me to create a fun atmosphere. I like people laughing. I like talking shit. I like people talking shit to each other. It's like, my coworkers and I flip each other off, and we're like finding ways to piss each other off or play jokes. I got a Rice Krispie treat thrown at me the other day for some shit I threw. And it almost hit me. I caught it, but it almost hit me in the face. And I was like, dude, you almost nailed me in the face with that Rice Krispie treat.
I don't think you were engaging enough with your productivity. That's why it almost hit you.
it didn't hit me because I was not doing what I was supposed to do. If I was focused on only the task at hand, then it would have hit me right in the face. But instead, I was too busy talking shit, and I was looking at the person, and then it came flying at me.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the
So
kind of environment I like, though. I don't want to sit around and act like a bunch of boring fools, you know. And it's like, dude, work sucks if you're not fucking around.
yeah, or being stimulated in a way that, you know, meets your functions, right? In this case. So I've kind of thought about kind of where you've brought us with productivity, and it seems like, you know, on one side of productivity, you have, you know, this, there's got to be the awareness of the need, right? And then there's the awareness of the need to be activated, right? And then the need to be consistent, and then how to maintain that consistency with what energy that is, right?
Yeah, it really boils down to me, it boils down to you have an ego function, right? It's how you primarily operate. So for you, it would be FE. It's like the way you do it. I'm just going to influence the environment. Everybody can just create this. I've noticed something about you specifically is like, no matter what room you're in, you're going to make it lighthearted and fun. I can't imagine being in a room with you where it's serious.
Oh, well, buddy, don't wish that.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. Now, I can imagine that you are serious at times, but if it's like 5 or 6 people or 7 people or more, it's going to be a goofy ass room. Yeah, you're not going to sit there and dwell and put a hood on and act like an emo Enneagram 4. You know, you're going to so you must be having a really bad day. But if you want to bring that room to being light and open and having fun, it's going to happen one way or another.
Yeah, no, I would say that on that note, yeah, the environment or the reality that I'm within, that I'm kind of taking part in, I like to generally have that positive. So when it's not, I usually refrain from it until it becomes, and I can see the shift, so that I can operate within it again.
Right. So for you, it's like I need someone to provide that logical system, right? For me, it's I am always productive, but I need the opposite, which is why the fuck are you doing all these things? Right? It's like, does that shit you're doing right now really fucking matter to the big picture? Because that's where the challenge is for me. It's like I need to be provided often with the big picture. It's like, okay, yes, you can do this. You can go build your fucking sandcastle. But at the end of the day, if the sandcastle is doing nothing and it has no point and I spent 3 years on it, why the hell did I do that?
Right.
And this is the challenge I run into. So NI is my suggestive function, which means that oftentimes I need to have a grand vision or purpose. And my biggest depressions are caused because I don't have that grand vision. I'm just like constantly like, I'm just going to stay productive because it's all I know. But what am I really being productive for? I don't fucking know. Let's just figure it out. And that's my answer for everything. It's like, even at work, people will come up to me and go, so there's this thing coming up. And my answer is we'll fix it when it happens.
Right.
And people are like, but don't you, I'm like, I can handle it when it happens. I'm not worried about preventative shit. I'll deal with it as it comes up. And
Right.
whereas they're like, okay. And I'm like, why are you telling me like 6 days too early? This makes no sense. We'll deal with it down the road. Like we'll deal with it when it is a problem right now. Don't waste my time. I'm busy working on my non-dream.
Do you find that a sense of a roadmap is evident in your needs in terms of being a beta?
Fuck yes, there is no question about it. If I don't have a direction, which happens to me all the time, by the way, I'm like, dude, I am a freaking 12-cylinder engine. And one of the most common expressions I've made is I'm like, I'm a 12-cylinder engine and they're putting me in a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, stop doing that. Like, fucking stop putting me in a lawnmower. Give me a big picture. So I have also often when I work in a job, I've gone to the boss and I said, look, what's my future here? Because I need someone else to give that shit to me.
Yeah.
And if they're like, well, we don't know yet, see what you can do. And I'm like, all right, I'll show you, motherfucker, what I can do.
Yeah.
And then I've always moved up really fast in organizations because I've done that. It's like, I can work really hard. They're like, oh, great job. And then they move me up. And then I'm like, dude, what's the next step? Like, what am I doing now? I want to move up again. And they're like, well, there's not any openings. Then I'm like, I'm gonna find somewhere else. Shit. Or I'll make my own
So
shit.
so I've been wondering this a while, and it's happened to me in the last couple of months where it's like a light switch. And so when I don't have a roadmap, I'm completely demotivated. And then just, and it's funny because it works so effortlessly when somebody just tells me, hey, like this is where your possibility can be. It's almost like that's enough for me to just start performing again. And then out of nowhere, I'm beating everybody. And it's like, oh, wow, like Speiss is back. And I'm like, no, you just showed me where I needed to go. You know what I mean?
That comes across as a little surprising for me, but it might be reality. As EIE with creative NI, generally you're pretty good at formulating where things are going to unfold.
Right. And so, but for me personally, when I'm positioned where there is no roadmap and I can't see or because I calculate where I can't calculate the future with the roadmap I desire for that desired situation, for that situation that it is, because I'm frustrated with that, I shut down. Right. So when I can't look to the future, right, and nothing that I'm doing or nothing that I'm thinking about doing for the future, there's no equation that works for that roadmap or any roadmap that I can see. I go, well, here I am. Now I'm just existing. Right.
So I'm going to adapt this. Forgive me for adapting this to my own understanding, but it sounds like to me that if you get stuck, this is what it sounds like you're saying to me. If you get stuck in a job where there is no future roadmap and you've met the end of the road per se, that you're like, fuck this shit sucks. And as soon as somebody says, you know what, there's an opening, and then you're like, oh shit, time to go again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a little more sense. But I don't think you're in a position that's best for an EIE if you really are an EIE. Because
I don't believe that either. I totally agree with you 100%, man.
I mean, that is like the fucking worst thing possible is to depend on someone as an EIE for someone else to give you a roadmap, because EIEs, you want to formulate your own shit. You want to come up with your own roadmap and follow it.
Absolutely. And people keep telling me, hey, there's a future in this company for you. Hey, buddy, where? When the company that I'm in, the store itself is in record decline month to month, and they're figuring it out. And it seems like there's no way for the company to breathe, right? Going forward, right? I look at, and so I'll give you an example. When I see a lack of opening, when I see a lack of roadmap, what I start doing is I start auditing. I start creating in my own way. I force my ideas into reality, and I bring my stuff to management. I talk to people. I start to just do things that need to happen, whether it's my job or not. And I pissed a couple people off doing jobs for them because I'm just trying to make sure that things are getting done, and if people aren't doing them, as they should, then I do it for them, and or because I like, or something that I like to do. If it's something that happened that I like to do, I'll just do it, right? And then they go, "Hey, why'd you do that?" I go, "It needed to be done. You weren't doing it, and so now it's done." Right now, we're moving on. Right. I'll give you an example. Right. I didn't have to say this to the general sales manager today, but I let him know, hey, in this meeting, I noticed that you were trying to get to this kind of solution, and I wanted to let you know I don't think your people know how to be productive in the workspace. I don't think they know how to manage their time, and I believe that we might need to work with them a little bit more on the micro. And guess what he does? Literally 5 minutes later, he prints up like a list of everything that every sales staff should be doing throughout their day, aside from making the calls, selling, whatever it is, right? And so I just become a conduit of ideas. Every time I get a roadmap, every time I get like a roadblock, I just become idea man, and I start creating ideas and solutions for the organization.
Conduit of ideas. You know what? How many ideas I come up with on a daily basis?
Probably not more than me, but
I come up with like maybe one if I'm lucky.
Yeah, no,
It's like I don't have a lot of ideas. I can solve problems using systems or models, but in general, like I don't come up with a lot of ideas. I've always been like, fuck, man, I got to come up with some bullshit idea. But what's interesting is I may be sitting at my desk and somebody might walk up to me, and this is my number one line that I say almost every single day. That shit is pointless. Somebody brings me up something and I'm like, they bring something, lay it on my desk. I'm like, that shit's pointless. And they're like, can you just do it? And I was like, no, that shit's pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it doesn't apply to you. You know, it doesn't apply to
you. And then,
the
boss walks up and he'll go, hey man, do you mind doing that? I was like, that shit's pointless. And I'll show you why. And so I draw this freaking diagram and I was like, and I write at the bottom of it, pointless. And I underline it and box it. And I was like, if you want me to do something pointless and you want to waste company dollars paying me to do pointless activities, then I'll do it. But I think we're putting the cart before the horse. And he's like, okay, well, what do you suggest? I was like, well, you're going to have to ask Idea Conduit over here because I don't know shit.
That's why we're hand in hand there. You know,
but that's what's funny. I was just like, that shit's pointless. He was like, well, what do you suggest? Not that. I'll tell you that. I don't suggest that. But I do have different ways. I'm like, you know what? Let me think about this. And I'll walk away and I'll come up, here's the answer. Here's what we should try.
Sure.
But, that's just using a model that worked before. Like, it's really, my NE sucks, man. My NE is 2-dimensional. It's like, I've learned it because I've learned it out of a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's not so much like, oh yeah, it's situationally. It's more like, this is like the values of it. It works this way or this way, black or white.
Yeah.
So,
not black and white.
Kind of a painful spot because I feel like it's expected of me at times, and it's like I don't want to do it. I'm just like, fuck it. Why do I do this shit?
Yeah, well, it's because you're in a role where you need to be able to get a little creative from time to time.
Oh, that role's everywhere. That's why it's called the role function. NE is my role function.
Yeah,
it's the role that I feel like I have to play for a while. I'm like, oh yeah, here's some ideas, and then it's like, thank God I'm over that shit. And because it's like I don't even feel confident in that. I'm like, you give me what you need me to do, I'm gonna do this shit, and I'm gonna show you how well I can do it. I can beat everybody at it, how fast I am. And so it sounds like a dick.
This just became like a David rant video.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done this in a long time, so I'm just sitting here thinking like, dude, this shit is funny, man. It really is. It's just
you turn the corners, but it's good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's shortcut all the way. Fuck it. You got to shortcut that shit, man. You don't have 20 years to work your way up the corporate ladder. You fucking break the corporate ladder and either make your own or you hop, skip, and do a little jump at the top. And you're like, I'm 29 and I'm like a president, and you're like 50 and you're like, haha, I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a shit. Only betas care about that shit because we're stupid. Yeah. And they're like,
dude, we care too much. We care too much.
And you're like, dude, do you really give a fuck about your title? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're stupid. Yeah, and that's why. And it's funny though, because at a certain point you start to accept it really doesn't matter, but it does matter. And that's why it's like because without the power, you don't get the ability to fucking make any real social change. You're just sitting there like, yep, I'm doing this, and I could be doing so much more. And I think the worst fate that humans have in their life is, well, the worst fate that betas have. I don't know how other quadras think, but the worst fate that betas have is I have all this, or in my case, I have all this horsepower, and nothing happened. IEIs. They will probably, one of the worst things they'll ever come up with is all these visions and dreams I've had and I've never been able to execute. Whereas SLEs like me, it would be more like all this activity and nobody fucking pointed me in the right direction. And I've literally built 20 castles, but they're in the middle of the ocean now because I did not predict a landslide. Or I did not predict a tidal wave to hit them. Some shit like that. It's like it's why collectively we all need each other. And I just think that's why I've always been so enamored with collective.
I don't want to throw you under the bus, but once upon a time we created a castle, and you didn't listen to the fact that I was telling you, hey, a landslide's coming, buddy. And
what fucking landslide came? You know what landslide came? It was called fucking illness. You did not predict my illness, you damn fucking liar.
No. What I did,
Damon, you're going to be sick in exactly 23.2 hours.
What I predicted was the projection of the channel. and how we should have been doing it part-time all along. That's what I thought. That's where I came to the conclusion of I wish you didn't get sick, man. We'd probably be in one bigger castle now.
Well, the reality is that the sickness was a great catalyst. It caused the thing to come crashing down a lot faster.
Yeah, it brought your horsepower and derailed you and made you actually contemplate how fast you were going.
Yeah, it's like I was in a rush to scale, and you scale too quickly, and things fall apart. So there's a point where you do have to take a step back, and that's where that NI comes in, and where I'm like, oh shit, yeah, fuck, I should have done that. But I made a lot of mistakes. But I had fun, and that's what's most important. Is after that period where I lost my business and I lost my position of being able to do that, what's happening is that I got super depressed because I had no vision anymore. My business was gone. So I was like, oh, now I got to go work a regular job and go do boring shit. And
join the club, man.
And I turned into the most introverted, fuck you, fuck life person I know. And I disappeared off the internet. I went to go contemplate, try to figure out what the fuck I need to be putting my energy toward. And instead, I was just like actively trying to do shit, and it didn't work. And then I said, you know what? The answer for me was to go back to the basics, which was do something you can control right now, which was physical activity.
Right.
And as soon as I started getting my shit together and exercising again, game over. Back in the swing. It was that fucking simple. So when people, they talk about depression, and the only reason why I'm not productive is because I'm depressed. Yeah, but what is making you depressed? And I really, truly believe it's lack of fulfillment in that suggestive function. You're not getting what you need.
Yeah. Well, so I want to segue into something interesting. So
that's your favorite word, segue.
It's not. What was my favorite word back in the day? I forgot. But so
it's your favorite word on this live show, and that's all that matters. The here and now.
It's the here and now. It's not the future, because you can handle it when it comes, right? So oh shit, I forgot what I was about
do you have the chat box open on this live stream?
Yeah, I do.
Is anybody commenting? No questions, nothing?
No. All the typology brethrens have left my channel. It's just all 94% new views.
Oh, okay.
But they are being tagged, so when this video ends, it's gonna be watched a lot, probably.
Well, I'm not worried about the audience per se. I just had a particular person saying they wanted to comment. I was wondering.
Oh, really?
Are the comments off, or is like?
No, I mean, it says to list available commands. No, I mean, it's showing up.
All right, well, let's segue back into your segue. So what's your segue?
All right, I forgot the segue. What were we talking about before? We just derailed like 3 times. That's enough for me.
Well,
I forgot.
Yeah, you were saying segue into something, and you felt the need to tell me to segue, and so I don't know what you wanted to segue into, but
what were you saying before I segued? Do you remember?
No.
Yeah, see,
off of my rants.
Yeah, no. That's just what it turned into. It's actually going to be retitled to Socionics with productivity and beta discussion or something, or beta, personality, whatever. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I feel like we are at that rambling stage now, Damon. So maybe we should end it here since it's been about an hour.
Oh yeah, if you want to, that's fine. We did get a comment actually.
Yeah, what's the comment?
It's more about Ripple and New World Order, but
no. Wow, well that's a segue.
You want to talk about the Illuminati?
No, or Ripple. Neither in this one. I'm trying to keep this. I'm getting like this finance traffic now ever since I started.
It looks like it. This guy's talking about XRP and New World Order, revamp the financial system.
Yeah, no, right.
What's weird about it is he says on February 3rd, 2017. This is the definition of not having a sense of time. This motherfucker on this channel is coming in from the past. So
He's a savage. He is, because he's been other places, and I know I can't unencrypt his messages because I'm like, are you talking about now the future, the past? Where are you coming from?
it beats me, but okay. So let's close a productivity out here. Let's make final comments about it.
Yeah. So recap on productivity as described as David.
Yeah. So recap real quick. If you want to be productive, my best advice, and it may not apply to you because it comes from me, which means that there's 15 other types of information metabolisms out there that may go, that's not helpful. But my best advice for you is read the book called Eat That Frog. It's by Brian Tracy. Really helps productivity. It talks about how to manage and break down your day. That's not a recap. That's new information, by the way, but it's important to read. The recap is that you need to understand what it is that's holding you back from being productive. Is it an inability to muster energy? Is it that you're not getting it from the outside world, or you're missing something? Or are you in an emotional state or a state of depression in which you are missing an unfulfilled need that helps you be the more full version of yourself? Once you figure that out and you're able to identify, here's my challenge, then you can start really making changes, and naturally you'll be the productive in the manner in which you should be productive. So you may not be a workaholic, but at least you'll be getting the results you want in the areas of your life that you want, not necessarily career, but your family, but your spiritual, whatever that it is that you're working on. So make sure you start doing some identifying of what it is that you're really missing. What's keeping you back? What's holding you back from being successful at what you do, whatever it is. That would be my recap.
My recap is use the word segue way more in any conversation. It's gonna show people that you know how to move from one topic to the other efficiently.
That's what we did here. We segued like crazy in this conversation.
We did, but it's because there's been a lot of catching up to do apparently within
there was so much segue in this conversation that the whole video should be labeled segue.
Wow, David, you really know how to move from one combo to the other.
One combo? Did you convo like conversation? Because it's weird that you abbreviated a word in the middle of actual speaking.
Yeah, no, I did.
Like if I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna go LOL. LOL. LOL.
That's what I did.
All right, just wanted to make sure that we're acronyming and abbreviating things from now on.
We are, and so now we will conclude now on that note. But everybody, if you have stayed tuned up until this point, we appreciate you, and we hope that you found some value in our content today with David. Again, he's a pleasure to have on. He's a wealth of knowledge and information and beta-isms. So we appreciate you here, David.
Thanks for having me, and TTYL, folks.
Yeah, we're bringing back the abbreviations. See you next time on my channel.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Take care.